When I sat down to write this book, the story of our family hiking all 2,189 miles of the Appalachian Trail, I had no idea what kind of book I was writing. I just knew that my family had a story to tell and that enough people had told us we should share it. But how? I didn't want to write a how-to book or a guide to thru hiking, mostly because we're not typical thru hikers. As a family, we enjoy hiking sometimes. It's always been more of a means to an end for us, a way for me and my wife Cammie to build closer relationships with our kids. We don't believe in a one-size-fits-all model for parenting, and even if there were one, we wouldn't say it's thru hiking. I also didn't want to write a memoir, a book that was all my story. The first thing we heard from people when they asked if we were writing a book about our hike was, "We want to hear from the kids." Well, it turns out that writing a book is hard, and something our teenagers didn't really want to do. After working through 10 versions of this manuscript, I can understand why. For a time in the creation of the book, my wife Cammie and I were co-authors, writing our family's story together. Her experience on the trail was just as important and just as compelling as mine, and at times, it was difficult to tell where her opinion ended and mine began. The same goes for our 4 daughters and 2 sons, Dove, Eden, Seven, Memory, Filia, and Rainier, who was only 2 years old when we hiked. Their unique thoughts and feelings about our trip are just as interesting, probably more interesting, honestly, than mine. What Cammie and I found, though, when we started writing, is that this is a complicated story with a huge, sprawling setting and a giant cast of characters, kind of like Game of Thrones, but with gummy bears. We saw right away that we needed one unifying voice to tell such a complex story, and since I was doing the bulk of the writing, the voice that came through the clearest was mine. So while this book primarily represents my viewpoints, I've done my best to incorporate as much insight and perspective from Cammie and our children throughout the story as possible. To do this, I've included entries from their journals and quotes taken from nearly 120 of our trail videos. Originally, I started off writing an adventure book. People seemed most interested when we told stories of bears and snakes and snowstorms and Child Protective Services busting in our family's camp. All of those things happened to us, and then some. It would be pretty easy to write about any number of hardships we faced and the courage we had to find to overcome them and come out on top like heroes.